Hello trainers, Professor Palm here, and welcome back to Summer Splash. We sure have a lot of water-type Pokemon. As of the 9th generation, we currently have a total of 159 different water types. Man, there sure are a lot of different water-type Pokemon. But you know what else we also have a lot of? Water-type specialists. That's right. In almost every single region, we're always introduced to at least one expert that knows the best about water-type Pokemon. Every region we've been to, excluding the Johto region, always introduces us to one water-type specialist. Most of the time, we get a gym leader that specializes in water types, but once in a blue moon, we get something different, like in the Kalos region, where we got ourselves an Elite Four member that specialized in it, a champion who also was a gym leader that specialized in the Hoenn region, as well as a trial captain in the Alola region. Since so many water-type experts are gym leaders, I think it's only fitting that we talk about some of them. So, welcome back to my series, Hitting the Gym. If you're new to the series, here's what we do. We look at a gym leader from a region and learn about everything we need to know about them. And seeing that we are in Summer Splash, and we should talk about a water-type gym leader, I think a good way to go is back to the Sinnoh region. Talk about who I think is a great gym leader. Of course, being Crasher Wake, the 4th or 5th gym leader you have to take on. I'm not gonna lie, I really think he is an impressive gym leader, considering the fact that he has a profession that isn't in the water field, as instead, he's a wrestler. It's kind of cool sometimes when Pokemon is a bit of a mold breaker and decides to do something different than what should be. Normally, you'd think that someone who's a wrestler would be a fighting type expert, but instead, Crasher Wake is something completely different. He's a water wrestler, which I have to be honest, is an awesome idea. It actually is a pretty cool idea, similar to that of Zoroark, when it looks like something, but it's really something else. In fact, I'm actually surprised that Pokemon has only done this twice with another gym leader, being Brawly in Dewford Town. You know, sometimes I think it would be a little more interesting if someone had a profession that didn't entirely link with what they're typing they specialize in, but was something else. I guess in a little bit of a way that is somewhat similar to Steven Stone. Despite being a rock-type expert as it appears, he's instead a steel-type expert. Though Crasher Wake isn't the strongest water-type gym leader we've ever had, he definitely is the coolest. After all, the guy is king of the ring, and anytime he fights, you know he's going to use his signature move, the Surging Splashdown. But what also makes him rather interesting as a water-type gym leader is the trinity of Pokemon he uses. If you think about it, all three of them represent different kinds of waters. One representing very rough waters, one of them representing the same, rough but not so bad, and then one as calm and cool waters. It is kind of cool to see that Crasher Wake has 3 different Pokemon that represent different kinds of waters. Also, looking at all 3 of his Pokemon, is it kind of weird to realize that all 3 of Crasher Wake's Pokemon were present in all of the Gen 4 games? I wonder if Pokemon was giving us a little bit of a sneak peek before we got Heart Gold and Soul Silver. When going back to the Sinnoh region, if you're going to take on any of the gym leaders, Crasher Wake is one that you're never going to forget. He's a really fun guy. While he may not be my favorite gym leader, he definitely is memorable for all the right reasons. I'd even go on record and say that he's got one of the most annoying puzzles for a gym, as you have to raise the current as well as lower it. Well, seeing that this guy has been near so many waters in his lifetime and is so strong that he won't be knocked down by even tidal waves, understandable why he'd want a water puzzle. He's also the king of the ring and is one of the most dangerous fighters you might ever take on. So, when you hear that bell ring, you know that the match is about to start. So, let's go into the ring and take on Crasher Wake. Let's learn everything that there is to know about this wild wrestler. Crasher Wake, the Torrential Masked Master, is the 4th or 5th gym leader in the Sinnoh region, depending on what game you play, that you must take on. He's stationed at Pastoria City and is a water-type specialist. Wake's past is full of mystery, as he wasn't known until the day he donned his mask and Swampert-looking pants and entered the ring for a massive win, which he introduced his signature move, the Surging Splashdown. In many interviews, Crasher Wake claims to have been born in the Sinnoh region. However, some others believe that he came from a different region, as before he entered the Pro Wrestling League, no one knew who he was. While Crasher Wake enjoys going by his stage name for gym battles, wrestling matches, and interviews, no one actually knows what his real name is. Also, despite the mask not covering a huge portion of Wake's face, no one has ever seen what he looks like with the mask off. Crasher Wake has a boisterous and dramatic personality, and often speaks in a loud voice. He's a very extroverted trainer of sorts, and will happily approach a new face. Wake is extremely adamant in his beliefs, and he's even gone so far in his training to prove a point by enduring the raw power of a heavy waterfall. Despite being a great wrestler and having so many styles to teach fighting types, the reason Crasher Wake loves water types and specializes in them is because, just like with his fighting styles, water can be unpredictable. He's also known to go to beaches when the tides are the roughest to train his body as well as his Pokemon, so they never get swept away by the currents. And because Crasher Wake has been doing this for so many years, his body is so strong that not even a tidal wave will knock him over. When not at the gym, Crasher Wake spends his time training near lakes and seas. And because he's a pro wrestler, he often fights in wrestling matches, taking time away from his gym as well as other challengers. If you want to see his matches, it's really hard to get tickets, because every wrestling match Crasher Wake participates in is almost always sold out when it's announced. Currently in the ring, Crasher Wake has an undefeated record since he began. Despite Crasher Wake having thousands of adoring fans, his biggest fan is none other than himself, as he came up with his own theme song, which he taught all his fans to sing whenever he enters the arena. Wake is also a very generous man, as whenever he wins these fights, he donates every dollar to several charities, as he can't stand seeing poor and unfortunate souls. Wake has also been known to host fundraisers for his causes. One of his most successful fundraisers actually is what made the Great Marshes Safari Zone. Because of his love of water, Crasher Wake wakes up every single morning and does 100 laps in the pool. This has made him a very strong swimmer. And because he is, there have been many occasions where Crasher Wake has saved drowning victims. Wake is also known for being a big inspiration to the children of Sinnoh, as a lot of young trainers look up to him. Whenever he's approached, Crasher Wake will always pose for pics and sign autographs to all sorts of fans. Despite being a very busy man with wrestling matches, events, and gym battles, Crasher Wake always makes time for his fans, whether young or old. Unlike almost all the gym leaders in Sinnoh, Crasher Wake doesn't have any real friendships with any of them, due to being a very busy man, which is quite ironic, as he doesn't know many of them, yet all of them know him. However, the only one he's ever really gotten to know is the Sinnoh fighting type leader, Maylene, as he's tried training with her, only to be bested. However, he's gone on many occasions praising Maylene for her amazing medals, trophies, as well as the matches she's won. While Wake may be a busy guy with so much in his life, I think that's a great thing for him, because just like the water type Pokemon he specializes in, he's got plenty of things to do that keep him afloat. Crasher Wake made his main series debut in the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl Battle Dimension episode, Cream of the Krogunk Crop. As Ash, Brock, and Dawn had just arrived at the Pastoria City gym, Crasher Wake was just leaving and introduced himself as the gym leader, which frightened the gang because of his massive size. Shaking off the fear, Ash challenged Crasher Wake to a battle, only for his request to be denied due to urgent business Wake had to take care of. Crasher Wake then offered Ash, Dawn, and Brock to go with him to something important, and they all agreed. They followed Crasher Wake to the train station and all boarded a train that took them through the Great Marsh. And on the train, Crasher Wake told the gang everything that they needed to know about Pastoria City's Great Marsh, as well as the Pokemon who lived there. Upon reaching the other side of the Great Marsh, Ash, Dawn, and Brock were all separated from Crasher Wake as he ran off to go do something. They then encountered a bunch of Krogunk along with a bunch of other trainers. Soon, the group reunited with Crasher Wake at the Krogunk Temple, where Wake explained that Krogunk are honored guardians of Pastoria, and people love them and treat them with so much respect that Krogunk have their own special day known as the Krogunk Festival, exciting both Dawn and Ash. During the Krogunk Festival Crasher Wake hosted, he called out for the main event of who could win the Krogunk crown. The previous winner, Hamilton, and his Krogunk Craig were on stage, and they gave back the new crown for the new winner. So Crasher Wake then took a seat amongst the other judges. There was him, Nurse Joy, and Carney, the Pastoria City station chief. Seeing that Brock could win the crown to impress Nurse Joy as well as her Krogunk Chrissy, Brock entered the contest with his Krogunk. When his Krogunk took the stage, it blew Wake, Carney, and Nurse Joy away, despite doing nothing but croaking. Crasher Wake then announced it was time for the brick-breaking competition for the second round. While many broke a lot of bricks, Brock's Krogunk broke all 10 in just one chop, winning Crasher Wake, Carney, and Nurse Joy's approval. And because of the high score that Brock and Krogunk had, they moved to the final round as the only finalists. As Crasher Wake told all the others, that's as far as they go. Now for the final round, Crasher Wake announced a final battle between Hamilton and his Krogunk Craig against Brock and his Krogunk. While Brock pep-talked Krogunk, Hamilton, being a snob, just laughed. While both Krogunk fought in the ring, their battle was interrupted by Team Rocket and their new Krogunk robot, used to steal the crown as well as capture all of the Krogunk, as Craig and Brock's Krogunk were the first one captured before all the others. Crasher Wake then stepped up to save the day to be the hero, only to realize he had left all his Pokemon behind in the gym. So, Nurse Joy then stepped up with her Krogunk Chrissy and used Vacuum Wave to smash up and break Team Rocket's Mega Krogunk, allowing all the others to escape. Ash then told Pikachu to use Thunderbolt to destroy the machine once and for all, sending Team Rocket blasting off again. This resulted in the crown being returned to Crasher Wake, and then crowned Chrissy the Krogunk Queen of the Year, which both Brock and Hamilton accepted. As the festival was coming to an end, Crasher Wake approached Ash, telling him not only was he impressed by the way he had raised Pikachu, but also the Thunderbolt that sent Team Rocket flying. He accepted Ash's challenge for the gym battle, but only for the next day, as Crasher Wake had to finish the festival with his big drum finale, which got everyone dancing. For Crasher Wake's gym battle in the games Diamond and Pearl, as well as their remakes Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, Crasher Wake uses a team of 3 wet water-type Pokemon, and his team includes Gyarados, the first Pokemon and frontrunner of Crasher Wake's team, who in Diamond and Pearl is at level 27, is male with the ability Intimidate, and has the move pool of Brine, Bite, Dragon Rage, and Swagger, while in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, Crasher Wake's Gyarados is also level 27, is male, has the ability Intimidate, holds the item the Wide Lens, which boosts its accuracy, and has the move pool of Brine, Ice Fang, Crunch, and Flail. Quagsire, who in Diamond and Pearl is at level 27, is male with the ability Damp, and has the move pool of Slam, Mud Bomb, Mud Sport, and Tail Whip, while in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, Crasher Wake's Quagsire is also level 27, is male with the ability Damp, holds the item the Damp Rock, which lengthens the duration of rain, and has the move pool of Rain Dance, Haze, Mudshot, and Scald. And at last, Crasher Wake's signature ace Pokemon, Floatzel, who in Diamond and Pearl is his strongest Pokemon at level 30, is male, has the ability Swift Swim, holds the item the Citrus Berry to restore its health when low, and has the move pool of Brine, Ice Fang, Swift, and Pursuit, while in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, Crasher Wake's Floatzel is also level 30, is male, has the same ability Swift Swim, holds the same item the Citrus Berry, and has the move pool of Brine, Ice Fang, Bite, and Aqua Jet. A nice wet and wild team for Crasher Wake to use in both the original 2 Sinnoh games as well as their remakes. However, when you take Crasher Wake on in Platinum, he's changed positions from the 4th gym leader to the 5th gym leader, and uses the same team of Pokemon for his battle, but with slightly different moves. As the 5th gym leader of Sinnoh in Platinum, Crasher Wake uses a team of 3 water-type Pokemon who consist of Gyarados, who is the frontrunner of Crasher Wake's team, is at level 33, is male, has the ability Intimidate, and has the move pool of Brine, Waterfall, Bite, and Twister. Quagsire, who is at level 34, is male, has the ability Damp, and has the move pool of Water Pulse, Mudshot, Rock Tomb, and Yawn. And of course, Crasher Wake's signature Floatzel, who is at level 37, is male, holds the item the Citrus Berry to restore its health, has the ability Swift Swim, and has the move pool of Brine, Crunch, Ice Fang, and Aqua Jet. So, in all the Sinnoh games that you may play, when you take on Crasher Wake, he'll always start off with Gyarados and end with Floatzel. However, he may send Floatzel out early and end with Quagsire. But no matter which way it goes, you better be ready to enter the ring when you take on Crasher Wake. Just like the water types he uses, you and your team better be prepared for a tidal wave of a battle. Because if you're not, you're gonna wipe out and be washed away. When you go to take on Crasher Wake and his water-type team at the Pastoria City Gym in Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Brilliant Diamond, or Shining Pearl, you better go into this battle with a game plan if you want to beat Wake and win his Fen badge, because it's going to be one crazy fight in the ring. If you're unsure of what to do, here's some advice of what are the best moves for the battle, as well as what are the best Pokemon you should use against him. Since all three Pokemon that are used on Crasher Wake's gym battle are all Water-type Pokemon, the best moves as well as Pokemon to use in this gym battle would be Grass-type Pokemon and Grass-type moves, as well as Electric-type Pokemon and Electric-type moves. I highly recommend getting yourself Grass-type Pokemon or using Grass-type moves for this battle, as not only are Grass-type moves super effective against Water-type Pokemon, but they also have a major bonus, as not only are they super effective, but resistant to Water-type moves. Crasher Wake can't be the only one with full dominance in the ring. Oh, and as a bonus, Crasher Wake's Quagsire, being a Water and Ground type, has a ×4 weakness to Grass-type moves. With Floatzel being a pure Water-type Pokemon that also is weak to Grass-type moves, you already have half the battle won. However, in battle, I urge you to be very careful with Grass-type Pokemon, as Crasher Wake has some Pokemon that use Ice-type moves that are super effective against Grass-type Pokemon. So, this can be a real big chill. It's possible that Crasher Wake may freeze you solid and melt you away. I also highly recommend getting yourself an Electric-type Pokemon as well as Electric-type moves, as that's also a perfect strategy when you take on Crasher Wake. Since all of his Pokemon are Water-type, you can really give them a shock with the power of Thunder. You may also get lucky and paralyze his Pokemon so they can't move, which puts you 1-up on him. Oh, and as a bonus, Crasher Wake's Gyarados, being a Water and Flying-type Pokemon, has a ×4 weakness to Electric-type moves. And again, with Floatzel being a pure Water-type Pokemon, it's also very weak to those moves. So again, you have half the battle won. However, you need to watch out for Crasher Wake's Quagsire. Being a Water-Ground type, Electric-type moves will not do any damage to it, and it has Ground-type moves which can really hurt you. Also, it's possible that Quagsire might go for Mud Sport, weakening Electric-type moves, leaving you grounded. So, all in all, I recommend using both Electric-type and Grass-type moves and Pokemon for this battle if you're going in for full offense. Using Electric-type to start off is a great idea. Because Crasher Wake sends out his Gyarados first, you'll immediately be able to OTKO it with an Electric-type move. And then he'll probably switch out Quagsire. That's your perfect chance to switch out to using a Grass-type Pokemon. Once again, you could do ×4 damage to Quagsire and KO it in just one turn. But then, when you have Floatzel, it's your choice whether to use either Electric-type moves or even Grass-type moves against the Sea Weasel Pokemon, either of which will be super effective. Go into battle like this, and you should be good as gold. If you happen to beat Crasher Wake, he'll gladly hand over his Fen badge, which now allows you to use HM5 Defog when outside of battle in Diamond and Pearl as well as the remakes, while in Platinum, Crasher Wake's Fen badge will now allow you to use HM3 Surf when outside of battle. His badge will also allow Pokemon at level 50 or lower to obey you when traded. And as a bonus, Wake will also reward the player with TM55 Brine, which is his favorite Water-type move, as it does double the damage when the target has less than half their HP. Being a gym leader, a Water-type specialist, and Sinnoh's undefeated wrestling champ, selling out tickets to every one of his matches, Crasher Wake sure has a lot to talk about, as every gym leader is amazing in their own way. So, let's talk about some fun facts and tidbits on Crasher Wake, our Raging Wave wrestler Water-type gym leader. Despite Crasher Wake being a pro wrestler, he doesn't use any fighting-type moves or Pokemon on his team, as he prefers Water types. This is very similar to Hoenn gym leader Brawly. who's a fighting type gym leader despite being a pro surfer. Coincidentally though, both gym leaders wear clothes with the colors orange, black, and blue. In the anime, Crasher Wake has a catchphrase when calling out Pokemon for a gym battle, as he says,
Gyarados on the water! Quagsire on the water! Floatzel on the water!
In Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Crasher Wake can be found at the Celadon department store, where he gives the player some Sinnoh starter Pokemon accessories. And you can also find Wake again on Route 47, admiring the great Safari Falls. Crasher Wake is the first Sinnoh gym leader who you take on that uses a team of fully evolved Pokemon. Coincidentally, all 3 Pokemon Wake uses can be found close by his gym, as Gyarados can be fished up with the Super Rod in Pastoria City's waters, Quagsire can be found at Pastoria City's Great Marsh, and Floatzel can be found in the tall grass on Route 213, right next to Pastoria City. In Pokemon Black and White 2, Crasher Wake can be found on Route 18, where he sings his own theme song. In the main series, Crasher Wake was the first Sinnoh gym leader whom Ash defeated in his first match. In the Pokemon trading card game, Crasher Wake first appeared on 3 cards as a trainer for Floatzel, Quagsire, and Floatzel Level X in the Platinum Rising Rivals expansion. And it wasn't until Sun and Moon's Forbidden Light expansion 10 years later that Crasher Wake finally got printed on 2 supporter cards, being 1 normal print and 1 full art print. Crasher Wake really is a standout when it comes to water-type specialists. It's really cool that despite being a fighter, he specializes in a typing that is not fighting type. With all the water type experts we've had, it's really cool that we have one who specializes in water types with a pastime, job, or hobby that is not involved with something having to do with the water. However, Crasher Wake is also a standout because of the mystery that surrounds him. He just appeared one day and then became one of the most famous names in all of the Sinnoh region. Just like Uncharted Waters, Crasher Wake is just as mysterious as we still know so little about the man. When looking at Crasher Wake's team, he really is one with the water, as his team is actually a perfect balance of different waters that our wrestling gym leader has trained and swam in for many years behind the mask. What's really cool about this is his trinity of Pokemon actually make up 3 different kinds of waters. We have the rough raging waters represented by Gyarados, the murky muddy waters of the marsh represented by his Quagsire, and of course, the clean, crisp, and calm waters represented by Crasher Wake's Floatzel. It's pretty cool to see not only does he know his waters well, but he also balances them very well on his team too. There's a good reason why Crasher Wake has an undefeated record in the ring. Just like with the flow of waters and the water-type Pokemon he specializes in, Crasher Wake is unpredictable. He may not be champion of the Sinnoh region, but he is king of the ring. If you take him on, you better be prepared to face his signature move, the Surging Splashdown. While he may specialize in water types, I'm completely certain that all of Wake's Pokemon know his battle strategies and his signature move. With the power of water by his side, you better be ready when the bell rings. He may be a wrestler, but because of being king of the ring, he will protect the region from all evils, like he did against Team Galactic. In my eyes, Crasher Wake will always be the Wild Wave Wrestler. Welcome back, trainers. How was your fight? You look pretty wiped out. So, I guess that we're gonna end this right here. Are you a fan of Crasher Wake, and would you watch one of his wrestling matches? Also, do you like the Sinnoh region? Wow, there sure are a lot of water-type specialists that we could talk on, and this is only the first one. But before we end this, I just have a few questions for you. Since I think Crasher Wake has a pretty balanced team with Gyarados, Quagsire, and Floatzel representing the different kinds of waters, which gym leader do you think has had the best team as a water-type gym leader? Of all 8 gym leaders that you can take on in the Sinnoh region, who is your favorite gym leader? Also, who gave you the hardest challenge of all 8 of them? Since every journey involves all of us collecting 8 different badges, some gym leaders are harder than others. Who is the hardest gym leader you ever took on and are the most proud of for winning a badge to? Since Crasher Wake is also a wrestler, do you think that he would have specialized better in fighting types than water types? Or do you think it's better that he specialized in water types, as just like his strategies, he's unpredictable that way? And of course, if you were a water type specialist, what would your team look like? Would you be a gym leader, or would you be an Elite Four member? If you chose to be a gym leader, what position do you want to be? It's always great to revisit gyms as well as talk about gym leaders. After all, they're the trainers who make you the one that you are. Every badge you collect from them makes you stronger than ever. So I hope that you liked learning about Crasher Wake, who already is as strong as ever. If you liked what you saw, then please leave a like. If you have any questions, you want to answer any of the questions that I just threw at you, you have an idea that you want turned into a video, there's a water type Pokemon line, or some water type gym leader that you want me to talk about, or something having to do with water types, then please comment. And if you liked what you saw and you want to see more, smash the subscribe button. Also, please share my videos to as many trainers as you can. As a Pokemon professor, it's my job to teach trainers like you. Thanks for watching, trainers. Until then, Palm out.